We're so excited to bring to you the amazing world of holistic mental health. We're proud to be part of a rich tradition spanning millennia that has incorporated herbs and other nutritional elements, exercise, healthy sleep practices, community, and spirituality into mental health care. Today, with the discoveries of modern medicine, plus our traditional practices, we have the tools to boost the mental health of our communities, families, and ourselves. We're thrilled to have you on this journey to great mental health. Come along with us. I was 16 years old and doing chemistry as part of my science track in high school. We were doing physical chemistry, and I had gotten stuck on a problem. I had been working on it for about an hour, and I just could not figure out how to solve this problem. So finally, I decided, just forget it. I was going to go and just go to bed, start all over again in the morning. And I fell asleep. And in my sleep, I started dreaming about the problem and working out the problem. And I jumped up probably 30 minutes later and ran over to the table and just wrote down the solution to the problem perfectly. And that was the first time that I realized the great value of rest to the brain. Today, we're talking about sleep, and not just sleep, but restful sleep, and why this is so deeply important to our mental health. We're going to start with understanding the basics of sleep. Most adults generally need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for optimum health. And while we seem to have a vague idea of how important sleep is, because we can be really irritable if we don't get a good night's sleep, I don't think we fully appreciate just how important sleep is to mental health. Chronic sleep deprivation is actually it's used as a form of torture many times. If a person goes for a long enough time without sleep, they can develop terrible mood symptoms, psychotic symptoms, meaning they can start hearing voices and seeing things that other people don't see. And there is evidence to show that people who are otherwise healthy, who exercise, who, eat right, if they do not get good sleep, their lifespan is actually shortened. So sleep is important for life. Sleep is medicine. There are profound impacts on mental health. In the area of the brain where memory is formed, the volume of that area increases when we get enough sleep, and that consolidates memory. So if we think about memory and concentration, you need to concentrate to get things to be put in your memory, and then they really need to solidify in there. That's why we often repeat things over again when we want to memorize them. But when you sleep and you wake up the next day and you recall, your brain is actually functioning while you're asleep to integrate things. So it's critical for memory. It's also critical to help our mood to get better. It's critical for physical issues. And a lot of people don't know this, but children who get good sleep grow taller because the growth hormone that is produced during puberty for children to grow is actually produced during sleep. In addition, people have better weight control when they sleep well, and they have fewer problems with chronic illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease. in adulthood when they sleep well. So sleep is so important, not just to our mental health, but to our physical health. And it is critical as part of a holistic mental health care approach. I'd love, Edna, for you to talk a little bit about the benefits of restorative sleep and how you integrate it into your practice.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul. You did a fantastic job introducing the importance, of sleep to all of us. Um, and I'm going to focus a little bit on a condition that uh, everybody talk about in probably a lot of people are very familiar or know someone who has ADHD. So I did not really know I had ADHD, when I was growing up, but I discovered later on that I have it. And one of the things I learned is that, sleep was something that is not just for rest, for people with ADHD, is really medicine. Like you were saying, it's really medicine. It's really help improve symptoms of ADHD. So how I integrate, I do mostly coaching now, and many of my clients have symptoms of ADHD. So I always, as part of my initial assessment, really trying to understand what's going on with people and developing a plan with them, I always include sleep as part of the plan. Because, you can come to me and say, I want to do all these things, and I can be working with you and giving you skills. But if you go home and you're not sleeping, I know for sure you're not going to do this homework and have issues. And I have clients, who, when they're doing really well and they are able to follow through and doing everything, it's because they're eating well, they're sleeping well. But when they're not doing that, you can see the difference because sleep really helps to improve your cognitive, functioning. Okay, because people may not know ADHD is a prefrontal or neurological, neurodevelopmental, issue. So it's really your executive part of the brain that is affected. So attention, so if you sleep and your cognitive part of your brain is well rested, it is able to help you to focus better. It helps to really able to be in a very good mood. It regulate your mood because as you were saying, if people don't have enough sleep, it can give them mood. It can increase their risk to really have mood disorder. Being really have some symptoms that look like mental illnesses. So it's important and even more crucial. This is for everybody, but for people with ADHD, it's even more crucial that they have the sleep and really helping them with irritability, impulsive behaviors, all those things. Are things like when you have a good night's sleep during the day, even if they are stressors, they are things that really frustrate you. You can deal with them. One thing that people with ADHD always come and talk about, and I experience it, firsthand, because there's a tendency to take a lot on, because this is the brain, that thing, we can work with everything and become overwhelmed with all those things. So one of the things that sleep does also is really reduce stress. So if you are able to have a good night's sleep, you are able to manage the stresses during the day, a little bit better. So that really 3 points I want to make, those are benefits of sleep. Is really it's improve your cognitive functioning, which deal with your impulses, your function, how you pay attention, how you really be able to make good decision. So that's one thing, and that's for everybody. You are able to make better decision if you have a really good night's sleep. And the second thing is mood regulation. It's really helped you regulate your mood. So you find yourself, in a better mood and better able to interact with people during the day. And the third thing is it's really reduced. It's a natural stress relief. It's really help you to be less stressed. So it help you really to handle frustration and everything that can come across your way during the day. So now,
Yeah.
Dr. Abdul, I would love to hear how do you integrate, sleep in your practice, and what are the benefits you have seen, for your client?
You know, in psychiatry, we really deal with a very intimate relationship between sleep and mental health because not only does good sleep promote good mental health, a lot of the mental illness that we deal with, um, we can learn about how severe the illnesses by tracing poor sleep patterns. So, for example, in patients who have bipolar disorder, we are very, very strict about sleep because one of the first signs that someone might be experiencing a manic episode is that their sleep cycles start shortening and they go from sleeping 8 hours to sleeping 4 or 3, or suddenly feeling like they just want to be awake. And so I put my patients who have bipolar illness on high alert. The minute they notice diminished sleep, they need to tell me right away so that we can treat it to prevent the progression of symptoms. In depression, the lack of sleep or too much sleep are both really significant signs of depression. So, one of the most common patterns is that people fall asleep for 3 to 4 hours, then they wake up for an hour or two, sometimes three, and then they go back to sleep and they're exhausted during the day. Or sometimes people are just sleeping all during the day. Their sleep cycle is literally turned around. They sleep all during the day, and then at nighttime, they can't sleep. In anxiety, people have a lot of difficulty falling asleep, or they fall asleep and they wake up multiple times. So, a good plan for sleep is something that we are very, very strict on in psychiatry. Another reason for making sure that sleep is promoted is we know that there is a very direct relationship between the immune system and brain health and mental health. And the immune system is rejuvenated during sleep. So that is another reason, in order to protect the brain and the health of the brain for people who are working to achieve optimal mental wellness, you need to have sleep in order to protect not just your brain, but the immune system and the hormonal systems that affect the brain. The body also undergoes various processes that help repair the tissues and boost muscle mass. And these things contribute to overall physical health. And so we really need to pay attention to the signs that our sleep might be deteriorating, because deteriorating sleep could be a problem by itself, but it could also be a significant indicator of some other kind of illness. So, what signs do we pay attention to? Well, the first thing is, have you noticed that there's been a change in how long it takes for you to go to sleep? If usually you go to bed and you sleep within 10 minutes to 15 minutes, and you notice that you're lying in bed for 30 minutes or more without sleeping, then that's a problem. You need to raise that issue with your doctor. What about if you're falling asleep easily, but you wake up after 3 or 4 hours and you stay up for a long time? So this is not a situation where you fall asleep, you wake up, you use the bathroom, you come back and you go back to sleep. This is a situation where you're up and you're lying in bed, you're tossing and turning, you're trying to get back to sleep. It's just not happening for a long stretch of time. Is that suddenly starting to happen? That might indicate that you're anxious, that you're stressed, or that you're really down. Also, if you're waking up 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, if you just can't seem to fall into a deep sleep and you're waking up multiple times during the night, that could also indicate that you have a problem. And so if you are noticing these signs, please reach out to your primary care physician. If you have a therapist, reach out to your therapist. Of course, you could always reach out to us, Awaken to Mind or Beryllium Psychiatric Services, and let us know that you are having problems sleeping. You know, that being said, some of us, we just don't sleep well. And you may be saying, hey, Edna, Dr. Abdul, I've had all of these problems for a long time. So, Edna, I'd love to hear from you some tips on how our audience can get good, restful sleep.
Before I give, some of the tips, I know people usually hear the word hygiene in relationship to taking a shower, brush your teeth and all that. But there is such thing as a good sleep hygiene. And I can give you some tips on that. So a good sleep hygiene include set a particular time for you to go to bed. And it's recommended that really it's around the same time, okay, every night. Having the place, your bedroom where you're going to be sleeping, make sure that it's as dark as it can be. So to really make sure that the body, know this is nighttime. It's time to go to sleep right now. So kind of the ambience in the room, have your room temperature. It shouldn't be too cold or too hot. Okay. It should not be noisy. But, sometimes people use white noise, that, depending on what's going on outside, that can be helpful. But again, really not a lot of noise. Your screen, like TV, computer and all that, it is recommended at least an hour before you go to sleep. You really need to shut those things because you really tell your brain it's time to go to sleep. And I know people may have heard of blue light, and there has been some studies to show, those devices, can really activate, something in our, circadian rhythm, making it look like it's still daytime when it's not. So we really need to shut those TV, shut, the screens, and, no heavy exercise. You can stretch, do little yoga, those type of things. Have a nice warm bath. That's another, great, way of really getting the body to relax. And no, we would say no coffee, anything that have caffeine in them, like chocolate, beverage, any caffeinated beverages. We would say, to really stay away from especially in the evening, late afternoon, evening, because those really can affect your sleep. So Dr. Abdul, I don't know if you have anything else, you can add, to this.
You know, sometimes people have challenges to developing good sleep hygiene. Um, Some people, particularly people who have been traumatized under the cover of darkness, may be afraid of the dark. They may be afraid of silence. They may want to sleep with the lights on. Um, so for people who are afraid of the dark, a dim light, it's better to go to sleep with dim light than to be awake and frightened in the dark. Um, Another issue is silence. And so we would recommend normally complete silence, but some people find rain sounds helpful, something that's soothing. Rain sounds or the sound of waves on the beach. There are noisemakers that have those sounds, and those may also be helpful. What is not helpful is keeping the television on. And screens are sometimes a huge coping mechanism for anxiety. People come home, the stress of the day is overwhelming, they want to get away from it. So they either turn on the television and sit in front of it so that they can distract themselves, or they get on social media and they're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And then they find that it's midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and they haven't gone to sleep. But that's a coping mechanism to get away from whatever stress they're feeling. And most times people do that because their thoughts are jumbled and crowding. They're worried about something and they just cannot seem to turn it off. So when you have those challenges, there are other things that you can do. One of the things we don't think about is developing a healthy bedtime routine. And people think a lot about their routine during the day. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna make breakfast and shower and brush my teeth and get dressed, get out the door, get the kids, all of that. But they don't think about how to wind down the day. So one really important thing, and I practice this myself. I mean, I practice all of these, but I practice this routinely, is to cap off the day. Meaning for me, the way that I do it is I have a little book and I just write down everything that I didn't finish that day that should be taken to the next day, or things I need to think about for the next day. And once those are jotted down, I say, okay, now my day is done. I'm moving into the night portion of my day. So capping off your day in some way, putting an end to the tasks of the day is really important so that you can let them go and let go the anxiety that comes with them. Here are some of the things that I suggest to patients to incorporate into a healthy bedtime routine. Stretching or gentle yoga poses can really relax the body and get it out of that state of tension from the day. And it's more rejuvenating than sitting at and staring at the TV. Reading is another way to really relax without the glare of the screen and the blue light, which can keep people awake. Having a journal and doing your journaling. Some people choose to cap off the day with journaling. Some people do specific kinds of journaling. Like, for example, rather than journaling about, the stressful things that happen and bringing those up leading into the night, gratitude journaling, or journaling about meaningful or pleasant situations that happen during the day. Something that gets you into that state of restfulness is a really great way to calm down and move into that state of sleep. Another thing that I would say is have the bedroom be the place you sleep. Don't have it be the place you do everything else. A lot of people put a television in their bedroom. It is not a good idea. Just take it out. I don't care if it's hung on the wall or where it is. Take it out, put it somewhere else in the house. The bedroom is where you sleep, is where you rest, is where you relax, is where you rejuvenate and pay attention to yourself. I want to add one more tip, and that is no alcohol before bed. And this may seem strange to people because a lot of people feel like if they drink alcohol, it relaxes them and they're able to fall asleep easily. The problem is that alcohol disrupts the sleep centers in the brain. It actually acts in the sleep centers. And so, what you'll find happening if you use alcohol frequently, after a while, you may go to sleep very easily, sleep 3 to 4 hours, and then you get up and you don't know why you're up. You don't know why you can't fall asleep. So, alcohol before bed is actually not a good idea at all. Okay, you should avoid it. Nicotine as well, again, seems to relax you, but it's really not good just before sleep. So, those are the ways that we can really work on getting restful sleep. Of course, there are medications that help, and you can talk to your doctor about them if people are interested in over-the-counter things, things that have had good evidence for sleep. Well, melatonin really is it's a substance that's made in the brain that tells the brain to go to sleep. So if you're trying to establish that routine that Edna's talking about, just the same time every day, then we suggest that you take melatonin at the same time every day for 2 weeks. And that's going to sort of get your brain into that space where, yes, we're producing melatonin at, I don't know, 9:30 at night or 10 o'clock at night, whatever time you choose. Have you noticed a difference in the way you deal with stress during the day after a restful night of sleep versus having a restless night or a night where your sleep has been really disturbed? And we always give you a challenge for the next time that we are recording. And our next recording is going to be on nutrition. And so, Edna, why don't you throw out our challenge that's going to lead into our nutrition segment?
Sound good, Dr. Abdul. Yes. Actually, the challenge is going to be for the next 7 days. If you can get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, okay, you take half of a lemon or lime, okay, with a warm cup of water. So you squeeze the lime in the water, and every morning you have, the lime and water for 7 days, and really see if it helps reduce your stress during the day, or even how you feel in general during the day. So that would be our challenge for you.
Yes, try to drink 16 ounces if you can of the warm water with lemon in it. And let us know what happens. Let us know in the comments how you feel.
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It was our pleasure to share those tips with you on sleep, and see you next time.